Let's see. We should be going live shortly. There we go. Hey, this is Fastnickel. Welcome to my channel. I got a special guest for you tonight. And some of you, if not all of you, will recognize him from his music. Let me take a moment here. Let me welcome Vinrock, also known as Vinny Brown of Naughty by Nature.
Hey, what's going on, Mike?
Hey, it's amazing and awesome to talk with you. And I want everyone to know, even though he is well renowned for his music, we are going to talk a different subject. A lot of you are going to be surprised. He is also known as Vinny Brown. He is a crypto enthusiast like myself. And he actually knows a lot more than I ever thought he did. And so he is going to grace us with some of his knowledge and just let some of his fans know what he's doing with crypto and how you all can get involved with crypto and how it can better your life. So Vin, thank you for your time.
All right, no problem. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Thank you. So, it's funny because it's been about 25 years that we've known each other, associated. I'm not going to sit here and say we hang out and go for drinks or anything, but, we've known each other for a quarter century. It's amazing how time flies.
Yeah, definitely. And it was pretty much in the tech space, right? What were you helping us out with Rhonda Jordan, right?
Rhonda Jordan, I was telling somebody, it's funny because I had your clothing in my basement, and we get orders on the website, and I take it to the post office and ship it off for you guys. And then I started doing some work for KG and Divine Mill. So it's interesting. But
Yeah.
It's been 25 plus years.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And the evolution is crazy to where we are right now with finance and the future of everything. We came up in the 90s, well, 80s and 90s. And it's great to live through these eras to see where technology is going and the future of finance, the future of earning a living these days. It's incredible.
It is. And, you're in the perfect space because we briefly talked a little bit about NFTs, but a lot of people don't realize NFTs are very big, not just for it's going to be big for the financial industry, but music and entertainment. There's so many things that you can do, with NFT space and memes. Although memes have a different aspect, that's more community driven, but
Hmm.
with the NFTs, a lot of different things can go on. So, as opposed to maybe when you and I got involved a couple of years ago, we kind of just got in. It kind of was the Wild West then. It is a little bit now, but more now people are looking for utility and coins that really can do a purpose.
Yes, definitely. And first and foremost, when I got introduced to Bitcoin, it was through a mentor of mine, Mr. Mike Johns. He's
Mhm.
from the West Coast. He was the first guy who mentioned Bitcoin to me. And that was when like Bitcoin was maybe $1,000, probably under $1,000. And he was telling me about it. And I remember participating in a conference. It was a presentation at the Jacob Javits Center, and we were talking about wearables and digital wearables, And I was explaining to him the power of merchandise, right? Like a basic concert T-shirt. That concert T-shirt says it all. If you have a logo on there, picture of your favorite artist, I mean, that's like a wearable. It explains your mentality, the kind of people you follow, the kind of music you listen to. So we started with that. And then eventually I got into the Bitcoin thing. And I bought invested my first piece of Bitcoin when it was like $6,100 a coin.
Okay.
And I was like, wow. And I was just understanding like what is it? And I always understood that, our traditional dollar, the US dollar, was always backed by gold. I believe it was Nixon that took it off the gold standard. So, you had it where it was just backed by the federal government, which was basically like the government's word. Our money is good, our word is good, so our US dollar is good. And now when it came to something like Bitcoin, it was almost like digital gold is what they were referring it to.
Right.
So they were pegging the US dollar, well, not officially, but a lot of people were pegging their US dollar to Bitcoin and saying, well, look, here's something that we could digitize, we could back it up. And if enough people invest in it, it would stabilize Bitcoin. And then that would justify pegging it against the US dollar. So that's what made me understand the utility of Bitcoin. And now you have so many alternative coins and so many different projects out there. That's what made me, go deeper into the cryptocurrencies, because I'm looking for what's going to have the utility, what's going to drive the world, what's going to make things more efficient. And that's what made me get into, cryptocurrencies in general.
When your business partner introduced you to crypto, were you in the stock game then?
Not really. I was more into real estate. We're invested in REITs, real estate investment trusts.
Mhm.
So ever since 1993, we always invested in real estate.
Okay.
So I was kind of spreading a portfolio like that, having real estate, having my personal real estate, meaning my home, and then diversifying with our music, our royalties. Those are big assets. Our
Right.
royalties, our publishing, that's like forever passive income.
Correct.
And then our merchandise itself, I've always invested in our retail store, which led into our website, because I realized like, hey, that's a digital store, as
Correct.
opposed to a physical store. So I was like, wow, I'll spread it like that, but I wasn't really that invested in the stock market. But now when you fast forward today, when you think of cryptocurrencies, it's very similar to the stock market. Even better, because you don't have to take, and that was the thing back in the day. Everyone said, well, in order to get started in the stock market, you need $10,000. Well, that's not the same with crypto. With
Right.
crypto, it's so fractional. You could take $100 and invest and get going. You could take $1,000 and spread that throughout 10 different cryptocurrencies and then get started.
When I got started, I started off with $5 and I got XRP for less than a penny.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But I mean, if you talk to friends and family, you know that most people are not into crypto and they think it's fake. So just to think of the time that you and I got involved, you obviously are a forward thinker. So what was it about Bitcoin that didn't scare you away?
Because I've always been, now that I know, my mentality is I've always been a futurist. So from just investing in our retail store ourselves, a lot of
Mhm.
artists weren't doing that. They were depending on the labels and everything. And then just the fact that I understood what the internet would be moving forward. When I
Right.
saw www.naughtybynature.com, I looked and said, wait, that www actually means World Wide Web. So I thought of it as, hey, I have an international television station where I get to go direct to consumer.
Right.
So I was like, bet I'm going to invest in that. And then social media came along where that was even better, because if you have a website, people have to specifically look for you for that website. But within social media, now you're amongst a pool of people, you're amongst a community, and then you can extract that community into your direct website. So I've always been a futurist that way. And then I've always studied the future of, especially with the entertainment industry. What does the future of the entertainment industry look like? I remember telling KG and warning KG back in the day. I remember I had a Microsoft computer, and then
Uh-huh.
there was a real player on it. The real player was the first platform I saw that streamed music back then. And I'm like, hey, would you look at this? This is going to be really disruptive. It's like, yo, then you're going to be able to stream all the music that was ever made. And that's going to be disruptive. And it's going to kind of mess with the monetization of music, you know? So all of these things led me to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And then when I started hearing about the future of money and the efficiency of money, and when it comes to the world, from wiring money across the
Mhm.
world to transferring money globally more efficiently, seamlessly, and more affordably, that's what made me go and say, you know what, I'm not afraid of Bitcoin. I'd rather get in early and understand that these are the train tracks that's being laid for the financial future of the world. And whether you want to get up on it or not, you have to deal with it. It's the same thing with the internet. A lot of people are like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm not messing with it. And to this day, a lot of people are like, never mind social media. I don't get on that thing. Well, it's not about what you're using, it's how you're using it.
Right.
So, with technology in general, that's what it's all about.
I know that you have some Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. Are there any other cryptos that you own that you like?
Um, I had some Solana,
Okay.
H bar, Chainlink.
Okay, those are all good ones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would have to look on my Coinbase to see which others, but yeah. And again, I have consultants. So I have my guy Kevin Jackson.
Uh-huh.
Actually, you know Bub. Bub used to manage my retail store, the Naughty Gear store. And then
Okay.
I have another childhood friend, Howie, Daryl Austin.
Uh-huh.
Both of those guys are heavy into crypto. And then I have a technologist, my guy Greg Karen, so he runs all of my e-commerce. He's heavy into AI. And I make a conscious effort to keep knowledgeable people around me so I could learn from them. You know what I mean? And
Got
then they point me to different platforms on YouTube and different blogs where I could follow these guys and kind of, you can get educated, man. If you look in the right places and consult with the right people, you can definitely educate yourself about what's going on.
so true. You know, a lot of my students that follow me, I've been asked. They said they're like, Fastnickel, where do you find all this? And I said, man, this is like being a doctor or a lawyer. You got to study like constantly because things are changing all the time. And so and I love it. I am just so engulfed. I love what's going on. Obviously you got to be careful because there's a lot of scams. You can get fish, so you
Hmm.
got to be careful. I'm wearing, this is one of my NFTs that I got, that my DGen Trash Panda. And I'm not, I mean, I have my share of NFTs and my
Hmm.
meme coins, but I would never tell somebody to invest in those unless you already have your base portfolio of coins that you want. And then you might want to take 5% or 10% and dabble in some NFTs or some memes. or some even some high risk, high reward coins, but that should not be your foundation.
Right, right. You can lose a lot of money out there. And I also say, when people ask, hey, where do you find this info? It's like, you know what? It's about your social diet or your mental diet. It's about what you choose to spend your time and the content you choose to absorb. So it's just like with sports. I know guys, they know every stat, they know all of the trades, they know all of the salaries that these players are getting, the coaches, the switchings, the off season. I'm like, when do you have time to keep up with that? And it's the same thing with gossip and drama. That some people follow the reality show dramas and all of the recaps and all of the maybe media takeouts, and it's a bunch of gossip. But does that really affect your life? Does it benefit you? You know what I mean? And if
Right.
you spent that time learning about things like cryptocurrency. It could be real estate, it could be politics, what's coming around the corner. The better prepared you are and the better you consume, then, the better you have time to react. So, that's what I choose to do with my time. Like, I don't even have cable television anymore. And since I cut it off, I'm like, wow, I don't miss it. I don't miss the repetition of just the nonsense they put out there.
Right.
I love the alternative news media because it's not the same for corporate controlled channels. You get a different perspective. So, this is the same thing with finance right now. A lot of times, hey, the big dogs, they develop the game
Right.
and they dictate the game, and they're the ones who benefit from the game. But with the internet and alternative information, alternative media, you get a chance to be on the curve and you get a chance to take advantage of, like the big institutions do.
Yes. And a lot, the Naughty by Nature brand is still strong. Uh, there's a guy that I work with who is from Sweden, and he tells me, growing up in the 90s, he loved his Naughty by Nature. And so, with that being said, are you, KG and Tretch, are you guys talking amongst yourself of doing any kind of meme coins or NFTs for the brand?
Well, unfortunately, we're fragmented from Tretch right now since the pandemic.
Okay.
Just internal things. He's choosing to tour by himself. However, KG and I have a new project called Town Sluggers. So it's a combination artist management, and it's a DJ hype set. So uh, we have DJ Slugger, who's a bear, and then
Yes.
KG and I are on the front. So we do mashups, we do hype songs, and we also have a record label. So there are artists that we develop.
Uh-huh.
So it's a whole new platform. And during the pandemic, on the Town Slugger side, we did set up an NFT, but we gave it away for free because
Okay.
during the pandemic, if you would remember, there's a lot of virtual worlds out there, right?
Yes.
So we were heavy in uh, forget what it's called. Microsoft had it. Crazy world.
In terms of one of the metaverses.
Yeah, one of the metaverses.
Okay.
Oh man, Altspace VR. Altspace VR.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So we built in there. I had 10 different worlds in there, and then they closed it. But that's what we did. We had a virtual world, 10 different worlds in there. So we had a mansion. I really should have had this for you, but it was a mansion, and you go into every room, right? And then we had an actual museum in there. So a lot of our classic photos, a lot of classic artwork that artists made for us, we
Hmm.
put them in the virtual world, and we were preparing for them to be NFTs. So it's something that you could purchase. Say, like if you were in our museum and you saw a piece of artwork you like, you could purchase that and take it to your physical world, and then we would develop it where you can actually get the physical piece of art shipped to you, right?
Right.
And then another thing is, even with NFTs, it's like, to me, NFTs are like a digital fan club. So if you buy an NFT, it's almost like buying a fan club membership. And then with the utility, if it's an annual subscription, if it's a monthly subscription, as active as you are, now people can redeem those NFTs and or use them for access. So say if we're in Atlanta, Georgia, and we do a show, and even prior to the show, if we wanted to book a restaurant and have a meet and greet there with
Right.
meals and stuff, we can activate that promotion by way of our NFT subscribers. So it's all about the utility, you know, and we're still working on it. It's just that right now we've pivoted to sports and youth sports. So our city of East Orange, they did a $7 million renovation of our childhood park, the
Uh-huh.
Oval Park, and they renamed and dedicated the basketball courts to us. So now KG and I have a basketball league called Balling by Nature, right?
Okay.
And it's a basketball league. We're doing eighth grade and high school boys and girls. So now we have this whole community, and then we have the merchandise by default. We have a Nourished by Nature juice drink, and we have a collaboration with you and sneakers. So we'll be
I
dropping
saw the
this.
photo that you posted with Patrick Ewing was in the background and you were holding his 33 sneaker.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that, but that's actually our Naughty by Nature, Ballin' by Nature sneaker. It's a
Okay.
collaboration with Patrick Ewing. So, now it's like we're pivoting, right? So we're pivoting into youth sports, and I'll explain how it will lead back into NFTs and then just community building. So now that we have the traditional physical assets, when we go in, we'll film. We already did the first season this past summer. So now we're coming upon our second summer this summer. We will be filming all of the content, posting on our Ballin' by Nature YouTube channel. And the beauty of it is that now we get into the NIL space with these young people.
Nice.
So now we'll get a chance to build out their profile, if you will, right? So some of our outstanding student athletes, when they perform, it's like, hey, here's our Nourished by Nature player of the game, right? Now I could take these kids and say, look, your jersey that you're wearing right now, this was your MVP jersey for Tuesday, July 8th. You know what I mean? Now we could take this, if you sign this, hey, here's an asset for you. And now as you're building community, you could have your own, whether it's a meme coin and or whether it's your NFT community, all of those uniforms you wear, the sneakers you wear, the socks you wear, all of those things become collectibles. And now you get to build community, you get to monetize those assets, and you add more value to yourself, whether you go on to play college or make the pros. Imagine taking an eighth grader right now and then stashing all of that content or all of those assets, all of that memorabilia, and they end up in the pros. You know how valuable that eighth grade paraphernalia will be or memorabilia would be. So this is where we're switching into that. And now I'll be able to digitize and tokenize all of these assets for what we're doing in youth sports.
My niece is married to Jay Sean, and about 2 years ago we were talking because he had a Lambo and he didn't want it anymore, and we were talking about setting up an NFT and giving it out to his fans, and then one fan's NFT would be the winner of the Lambo.
Right, right. Wow, that's crazy, man.
So
I wonder if they can afford the insurance on that thing, right?
I know. I mean, just to keep it up is like $2,000 a month. But it's funny. I'm gonna date myself and bring up a memory. So when you mentioned Ewing, I remember because I'm not a basketball guy. I'm more of a baseball. But I remember when the Knicks drafted him in '85. I went to Dr. J's and they had his sneaker, and I bought a pair of Ewings just because back then that was a big deal that the Knicks got him as the #1 draft pick.
Right, right, right. And even everything we do, just back on the Naughty by Nature side. So
Mhm.
even these Ewing drops that we do, these are going to be collectibles. their unique product. We're going to drop 600 pairs, and that's not a lot with billions of people in the world and a bunch of fans that we have across the world. Times us introducing these young people to our brand. And for us, we're going to introduce our brand first through sports, and then we'll get back into the music. Another thing that we're going to do with the music, since streaming has been so disruptive and streaming has demonetized music a lot for the most part, we're going to do a Ballin' by Nature compilation album. And
Okay.
then there's a lot of student athletes who love music. We're going to ask them to contribute to the soundtrack. And it's going to be a lot of sports related hype songs. And then, if you submit these songs, we could use our publishers to pitch them for sync licensing with ESPN commercials. And these kids could use their own music for their own highlights. So, all of this stuff, man, it's crazy. And just to stay on point with, the NFTs and the cryptocurrencies, everything now in the future is about tokenization. They're securing everything on the blockchain. And actually, I went to the Knicks games last night, and there's a guy who is a salesman, and he sells a lot of memorabilia and collectibles. He showed me this guy's man cave, man. He had all kinds of baseballs, all kinds of signed frame things, basketballs, from like the 3-point contest. He
Right.
has like the game ball from the last 15 years, the last 3-pointer that went in. So he was like, look, my client is about to sell a lot of this stuff, a portion of his portfolio. I said, well, look, man, you need to tokenize that stuff and get it on the blockchain. He was like, what? What do you mean? I said, it's going to help authenticate,
Right.
the merchandise. So this is what's going on now. And with our pivot, it's going to be about tokenization. It's going to be about the blockchain. And then that's what I'll be paying attention to. Which cryptocurrency projects are going to be relevant to tokenization and authenticating, paraphernalia, memorabilia, access to fan clubs, couponing, discounts. So it's the underlying technology that's going to enable you to do it efficiently is the cryptocurrencies that I'll be looking for. And those are the cryptocurrencies that I'll be invested in.
So I'm not sure if you know of a coin called V Chain. So V
Yes.
Chain, okay. So the whole purpose behind V Chain, as you know, Nike, uh, they manufacture a lot of their sneakers over in China, but
Hmm.
there's a lot of knockoffs. So
Yeah.
V Chain does is help authenticate if you have the real product or not.
Right, right. Yeah,
So
that would be good. And it's good to kind of implement and or tag this product as it's being made. So
correct.
whether it's embedded in the fabric, whether it's, a chip inside the shoe, deep inside the shoe. You can
Right.
imagine if you stick your foot in, that chip would be between the sole and the rubber, you know what I
Right.
mean? Where it's virtually impossible to get to unless you really destroy the product, which will be serve you no good, you
Right.
know, things like that. So now this product, it'll follow you from the factory all the way to the consumer. And as a matter of fact, they're doing that with food as well. From farm to table, they're
Yeah.
tracking food from the farm, which batch, which lot this pound of greens were grown in, all the way to the table. So if there's a breakout, you could really track it efficiently, know which batch is causing a problem, and pull it from the supply chain.
You're absolutely right. Just because I know that your time is short. So, just in terms of the future, what do you think? Well, is there any other projects or any other cryptos that you want to buy more of? Or, one of the things that I've been sharing with my students is don't sell your crypto. Now you can use it to borrow against your assets, so that now this is how the rich stay rich. They don't sell their assets; they borrow against it, and by
Right,
doing so, it's not a taxable event. Because
right,
if you have a Bitcoin and the minute you sell it, they're taking 30% in tax.
Right.
So you gotta have you gotta have good accountants. You gotta have good people that help show you how to use your money or how to use your assets without having to actually get rid of them, so that you can create that generational wealth.
Yeah, and for me, I know the earmark. Everyone is talking about 2030. You know, everything will definitely change in 2030. So, I've been in crypto and in this NFT space, all this digital space for years. And then this past year, I had to deal with the IRS. So I had a big thing to clean up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in our space, man, the numbers are huge, right? So I finally settled up with the IRS, thank God. And now going into 2026, I could really stack, my cryptocurrency portfolio and really get to study a lot of these other projects that's coming about, and just understand what the government is doing and how large institutional monies and banks and governments, what they're investing in. And I'm following these trends so I could stay on point. So definitely 2026, I'll be deep diving. Count me in as a student. I love to jump in with you and your classes. And it's all about learning together, each one teach one. And that's what I love to do with my time, my spare time, my free time. So instead of living like a rock star and being reckless, I'd rather, learn. I'd rather continue to learn and pass it along to my friends and family and community at large so they could benefit.
With that said, if you don't mind, I just want to share one thing.
I don't mind.
Uh, so this is my website, and obviously you know that handsome guy right up there at the
Yeah.
top. So one of the things, so in the black and brown community, no one's really helping us financially.
hmm
So the Most High put it on my spirit. That's how I got involved with wanting to teach, because I wanted to make sure that no one was out there scamming people, because there's a lot of scams, a lot of phishing. And so one of the things I did was I created, I have a couple of things that I've created, but what I did was this: is I created this cryptocurrency guide for absolute beginners. And what I did with this is I basically teach you how to buy crypto, how to sell crypto, how to transfer it from wallet to wallet, and how to protect your crypto. Now, there's a lot of other things like NFTs, etc., but I wanted to keep it simple and not overwhelm anybody. Just
Right.
give them the simple basics first. And the reason I feel it's important is because so like people don't realize it's a done deal. The only thing that's holding things up is the Clarity Act. Once that Clarity Act goes through, all the banks will know that they can definitely do the things they want to do without getting hit from the SEC. And on November, I think it was on November 17th, the SEC, no, I'm sorry, the feds, they sent out a mandate to all the US banks that they have to hold crypto on their books. And whether people want to believe it or not, this is going forward. So you want to take your time and understand this asset class as opposed to being forced to learn it. Because anytime you're forced, you're going to make mistakes. And as you know, this is an unforgiving asset class. If you make a mistake, you're not getting your crypto back.
Right,
There's no
right,
800
right.
number you can call.
Right, right. And, on top of that, it's like by the time you're forced to participate, it's already too late.
It's
You
already
can
too
get
late.
in early and you can learn early and you can take a heck of a ride. Like I said, I first got involved, I first heard of Bitcoin when it was about $1,000, probably less than that. I first invested when it was $61 a coin. Now, I mean, $6,100 a coin. Now it's hovering around 85, $90,000 a coin, which is incredible. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So it's definitely out there, and I think 2026 is going to be a huge year.
Huge.
It's a lot with President Trump, but this administration is very crypto friendly, and they'll be pushing through legislation. I know there's kickback from traditional institutions, and it's just kind of like a fight to control who's. It's a fight to see who's going to control cryptocurrencies and how it's used. But the bottom line is that this is definitely the future. So 2026 and beyond, that's really, really where I'm going. And for everyone else who may have missed or may have never invested in the stock market, a great way to get familiar with the stock market is to invest in cryptos. And then when you see that working for you and see how your money grows, it'll help you better understand how stocks work and how you
Yeah,
invest in stocks and grow your money. So it's a win-win, really.
it is. The screen that I'm showing, these are ISO, these are all the ISO 20022 coins. And for those of you watching live or watching the replay, these are, so most people have heard of the SWIFT system, which is how banks, it's the messaging system that banks use when they're sending money overseas or bank to bank. So the
Or a
new,
wire, if anyone ever sent a bank wire.
correct. And so it's all through the SWIFT, but it takes 5 to 7 days. So
Yeah.
through the ISO 20022, it's in seconds. So these are the XRP chain link, what you mentioned. These are the safe coins. And I've told people, and this is not financial advice, but like the three coins I love are Quant, XRP, and XLM, just because of what they mean in the financial system. Uh, but there's so many, when you mention stocks, so there's also, for instance, me, I never was a stock guy, but there is a website, it's called xstocks.com. Let me just show you that for a second.
Hmm.
So xstocks.com, what's cool about that is they have tokenized, as you were saying earlier, they've tokenized the stocks. And so you can get Netflix, Robinhood, Coinbase, Amazon, Nvidia. You can buy these stocks, and when you buy them, these are at the same price as your traditional stocks, but instead of your broker holding it, you actually hold it as a crypto.
Right.
So, I love this because I'm more of a crypto person. And so now I can take advantage of the stock market without having to buy stocks.
Right. Wow, that's great, man. That's definitely good. And you know what, Mike? I will go back to what you mentioned earlier when you said, there's not a lot of people out there talking to black and brown people.
Mhm.
But I kind of beg to differ. There's a lot of minority and ethnic people out there talking about crypto. I see a lot of guys and girls out there. It's just that you have to find them, and or their platforms aren't as big. But I
Right.
definitely see a lot of minorities out there, black people, Latin people. They're talking to their audiences, and they're definitely heavy into crypto. So I would like to say, if anything, the glass is half full. There's a lot of people out there, and maybe during this journey we start extracting those people, and once we do the due diligence on their pages and kind of point people to them because they deserve their flowers. There's a lot of people out here who's been invested in crypto, and they've been riding these waves, ups and downs, and they're knowledgeable about the space in general.
Yes.
So the more we big up those who are doing it, the more we can onboard other people, and then we don't necessarily have to say there's no one out there because we're out here. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
And with the time you've been in it, to tell people you got to be thick skinned. You can't have a weak stomach because you have your ups and your downs, and you can't worry about it. You have to just have faith in the project and know that in the end time it's going to go up and it's going to do well for you.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it's just like stock. So it's like the bigger the community, the better the community, the more knowledgeable the community is, the better chance you have to avoid these pitfalls out here.
Well, before I let you go, is there anything you want to promote or anything else you want to say or mention?
Well, yeah, first and foremost, I'm glad we had a chance to catch up again, man. I love what you're doing. I definitely want to stay more in contact and follow what you're doing with your classes because, this is a continuous learning cycle. It's a continuous learning process. And no matter what, no matter who you are, no matter how old you get, as long as you're on this earth, you can always learn something new. So I look
I agree.
forward to that and bringing in some of my other consultants and people who mentor me in this space and bring them to the party, man. And it's like each one teach one, right? And
I agree.
like I said, we're pivoted over to this balling by nature basketball league and our basketball court. So in this space with youth sports, we'll get them into NIL. We're talking naughty image and likeness. So with our proceeds, from selling our merchandise, our sneakers, our juice drinks, we'll be able to gift or grant some of these students scholarships, whether it's
Nice.
$500, 1,500, 1,000 here. We'll start, prepping these kids about their own name, image, and likeness. So whether you make it to the NBA or you're going into corporate America or you're going to start your own business, your reputation precedes you. So you have to understand this, man, and you have to start early. The earlier you get, you're going to start building a resume. So your personality, your habits, your demeanor, all of that, it's almost like a social credit score. Actually, it is a social credit score, and that's your resume. So, you know, and that is going to be digitized and tokenized. Mike Valdez, Vinny Brown, you'll be able to go on a blockchain and really check out your history of what you do. So I'm
Yes.
looking forward to all of this stuff, and again, I'm looking forward to the future. So I'm glad we got a chance to catch up, and I'm definitely on board for the future.
Thank you, Vinny. Um, and with that said, I will say goodnight and we will talk soon. And thank you for everyone who showed up and enjoyed our time here. Um,